Welcome back to Surrendered. My name is Rachel Kimani, and in this space we talk about our lives, how better we can do our relationships. So you are at the right place. If you're finding me here for your very first time, I'm so happy. I'm so glad that you found this channel. I personally have found peace in surrendering everything at the feet of the Lord while I allow Him to work through my life. Is it easy? No. Sometimes I feel like it's not possible, but it has been easier when I trust the Lord. In today's video, I want to identify with you in the fact that it's not always easy to have courage in difficult moments. Sometimes it's easier said than done. Somebody can tell you, oh, you just need to do it. No, but when you get to it, you realize it's not easy. As I do this video today, I am thinking about you, especially if you're a woman. You are in a place of honor. You are in a place of, maybe it could not be of honor. You might be in a place of the opposite of honor. But when you are in that high position, just remember you're there for such a time as now. For difficult moments that call out for your courage, you just need to remember that you're not alone. God is with you. There are few stories that we have read in the Bible, and there are many that stand out for me. But there's a young girl called Esther in the Bible. Yes, we read about her. We read about how she saved her nation. Sometimes we don't really sit down to wonder, what is the stress that Esther went through before she could actually do something courageous to save her nation? Yes, we know. We know how she fought. We know how she prayed. We know how she gathered the whole nation to pray and fast so that her people will be saved. Have you thought about what was the moment that she was living every time she thought, hey, if I appear before the king at the wrong time, kaput. If I don't know my timing, if I don't know what I am doing around here, kaput, I'm finished. If you would remember, she didn't just arrive in the king's palace. There was a contest. There was another queen called Vashti, and Esther didn't just make it. It's because she was in God's plan. When she arrived at the palace, maybe she expected life to be so easy because she was young and beautiful and she was picked from many, many young girls. But her story is written in the Bible to remind us, even when you arrive at the palace, when you arrive at your dream, when you arrive maybe at your purpose, there is something that you need to do to cooperate with God in order for His purpose to be accomplished right where you are. Haman had really plotted to finish all her people. But remember the uncle who brought her there, he was always at the gate. The one word he told her niece was, Esther, remember you're there for such a time as now. For me, that is a sobering, statement. It is something that causes me to arise because just like Esther, it happens to all of us. It happens to you. You could be in your place of comfort and you forget why you're there. You could be in that place where you've been praying for many years, but once you arrive there, you actually forget the pain. You forget where you have come from. You may be this single girl and God has seen you through and now you're married and you start looking down on those who are not married. You could be this person who has this very, very plum job and you look and you talk actually down to people who don't have jobs. You may be this person who is in favor somewhere and all you're thinking is how favored you are. Or you're thinking, oh, I am in this presence and you must acknowledge me. I don't know what favored position you're in, but you're there for such a time as now. There are moments that require courage and you just remember to use your privilege very well because you will be remembered for when you sat in that position. That story encourages me that no matter where I go, no matter how high I go, I will be there for such a moment as when I will be required. And those resounding words, when the nation was about to be destroyed, and the voice of the mentor, the uncle, you're there for such a time as now. But if you don't take up your position, for sure God will send deliverance from above. I'm just talking about this background so that there are moments when you will be tried in your high position and you'll be caught between, taking the right step. You'll be caught between deciding what is right and your job. And sometimes you'll be caught between losing a friendship that is so valuable to you and the job. I hope you haven't been tried and failed the test whereby you're up there and you forget the people who God used to walk with you and to get you where you are right now. So if you're somewhere and sometimes power has this thing of getting into us, I want to bring you down to the level of Esther. She was a queen and she remembered the call and the purpose of God in her life. Another young lady called Ruth, everything she stood for also fell. Maybe Esther talks to you about valor, the palace life, a princess, a queen. What about Ruth? Ruth, on the other side of the coin, she had it and she lost it. I mean, within a short time, she was married and she was a widow. She talks to me of being loyal. She decided, I know where I belong. I know where my bread is buttered. And she followed her mom-in-law. But what do you do when everything in your life seems not to make sense? Are you the kind that will be saying, I'm going to remain to the position of loyalty. I'm going to do what is courageous and what is needed of me in the moment where everybody expects me to do the opposite. Another character that really reminds me of courage in the Bible is Rahab. Yeah, I know. We don't like to talk about her. She's the one who wreaked havoc in people's families. But she stood out in a moment when she was required to make a sound decision. God still uses vessels which are not noble. God still uses those people who you don't imagine he can use. Rahab saved a whole nation. She brought down a nation that was against God by just sensing, I am here for such a time as now. Do you understand your moment? Do you understand the purpose for which you are where you are right now? I'm not sure which position of privilege and honor you are enjoying right now. Use it very well, because it is very tempting. You could be there and you don't care whose feet, whose toes you're stepping on. You don't even care who you're bringing down. Just remember your legacy. Just remember what will be said after you leave. For Ruth, it will be said she was loyal. For Rahab, it will be said she did the extraordinary thing, that which was not expected. Another lady, a Deborah, she led a nation with courage when nobody would, when there was no leadership, but she did it in humility. We don't hear of the bravado of what Deborah did, how she reminded people who she was, how she really talked down on people, how she condescended on people, and how loud she was. We just know. And Deborah arose. When there was no leadership, she arose. What are you doing for your moment? You're there for such a time as now. In your lowly position, that small position that you hold, even if you're a house girl, that's a very important position that you hold in your house. In fact, there is a house girl who ended up saving her master. And she told the mistress of the house, where I come from, there is a God. He heals. Don't despise your position, because even this girl could have said, who am I? I'm just a house help. She understood her position. She understood her mandate. She understood her purpose, and she stood out and did something courageous for such a moment as then. Do something courageous. One of the courageous things you could do is to pray. It is to trust God. It is not to give up. It is not to compromise. It is just to stay in a position of saying, Lord, I have surrendered. I wait upon you to come through for me. I'm thinking of a woman in the Bible who was suffering for 12 good years. And she suffered under the hands of doctors and people who had all solutions like we do. And she did something courageous when nobody expected her to do that. She touched Jesus. Even in your distress, for such a moment as that, you can still do something. Don't just glow in your glory. There is a temptation of thinking, I work so hard. I work so smart. No, it's not about how smart you work. There are people who work smarter than you, but their moment has not come. There are people who actually wake up earlier than you, but their moment of fortune has not come. Be humble, be polite, be nice. Just remember, it is the Lord God who has made you to reach there. And especially, I said, this video, if you're a woman, you need to identify with it. There's a temptation of also being corrupt. How are you doing your business? Are you this kind of a person? You bribe every corner, left, right, and center. Then you come and say, God has done it for me. That happens a lot. Do something courageous. Just stand out for such a moment as now. Remember, there's a legacy, and somebody who watches you and admires you, they are likely to do what you do in your business. Wherever you are, whatever level you are in, just remember, God has placed you there for such a moment as that. And that moment calls for courage. It calls for standing out. It calls for saying, even if I'm alone, I'm going to stand out and be counted on the Lord's side. I hope this video encourages you. I hope you can take time and be courageous and stand out and count the cost. God is counting on you. And you know what? He knows that you will trust Him to stand out for those who will come after you and for the glory of God. So be courageous and do something courageous. As for now, it's a bye-bye, and keep on remembering that you surrender your life to God. If there's an issue that you need to take a decision on, just surrender it to God, and God is for you. As for now, it's a bye-bye, and I love you. Thank you for watching this video. Remember to support the channel, subscribe, and share this video with others. Thank you.